bit lag there. Not able to see the PPT.
I hope everybody gets this option. Anyway, that's fine. All right. So,
do you have to change the control whenever is needed? Whenever, let's say, file is present.
I think so. What I will do is I'll finish mine and then pass the control to you. Rakesh, you need to manage the transition. Okay. Rakesh, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Is this okay? But we are not get your screen, sir. As of now, it's just loading kind of thing. For me, it's.
So I am able to see. Shisha, could you put that in a full window, please, if possible? The presentation. No?
Rakesh, do let me know when the participants are there and then when we can start.
Sure, ma'am. Is it live?
Do you see anything on the screen?
Yep, it is in presentation mode, yes.
I think we are having quite a lot of challenges here, but I should start off. It's already 3:02.
Yeah, normally we start off at around 3:05, Shesha. Give 5 minutes for the students and the faculty to join.
Oh, fair enough. And let me.
How many participants are we?
So, also
on an average, we
can
have
start
at least
now.
1,000 plus participants, Prashanth.
Okay.
Maybe 1,600, 1,200, something in that range.
Nirja, we can start now.
Oh, thank you.
How many do we have? How many attendees do we have?
Okay, so let's start off. A very warm welcome to all the participants to the 4th program as part of WINTalk series by HYSIA and TASK. HYSIA, as you all know, is a 30-year-old IT-ITS industry association of the state, and TASK is a not-for-profit organization created by Government of Telangana for bringing synergy among government institutions, industry, and academia. The WINTalk series is focused on demystifying some of the emerging technologies and create awareness among students about possible roles, career options, learning resources, prerequisites for getting a job in that particular technology. Today's focus is on testing. We have an eminent panel of industry experts to share their insights on this often overlooked area of software. Without taking much time, I have the privilege of introducing today's moderator, Mr. Shesha M. Rao, who is stepping in for Mr. Shrikant Sinha, who unfortunately is unwell today. Shesha has held senior management positions in various technology companies in social networking, market intelligence, storage, LAN, WAN areas, enterprise and application software space. He has entrepreneurial experience specializing in startups, building highly productive and innovative Indian design centers for MNCs. Shesha is passionate about balance between process-oriented nature coupled with startup agility and speed. He is currently a board member of Insight View in India and a managing committee member of the Industry Academia Forum, a managing committee member of HYSIA and leading the Industry Academia Forum. Thank you for accepting to moderate this session, Shesha. Over to you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, the panelists. Good afternoon, Nirja, Rakesh, and all the participants. We have spend their time this afternoon. Well, a warm welcome to all of you. And I would like to see anything on this. Or Prashanth, do you see anything on your screens?
Yeah, yes. The slide number 11.
Oh, wow, I didn't intend to show that. That's fine. Okay, anyway. So this after, I think we have lots of challenges with. I think my screen is frozen. That's anyway. So, so this afternoon, I know that you had several expectations on this series. So this is a WINTalk series. What the series? And so far, we have done 10 sessions and sessions every other Friday at 3 p.m. And every session will have a different topic instead of it's the same topic, so that you can pick and choose the topics that you're interested in. And this afternoon, we chose a topic on testing. Testing is something that that is quite well misunderstood rather than well understood. Because it's very important piece of it, and many of you may be having some, several, doubts in your mind on whether it's the right path for me, what is it, and what is the depth in which I can go, what is my career path. So there are several questions that you may have in your mind to really choose that as your career. So this today's purpose is to explain how you could get benefited with this career path in testing, and also learn what are the specializations, what are the myths, what are the facts, what are career options, how will you get paid, what you can expect in the industry, and how do I get skilled for those kind of career options, and what are my learning resources, what are the certificates I need to go through, and also about AI. Everybody's talking about AI nowadays. So how does that fit into this equation, and how QA as an industry is evolving to adapt to the new age technologies and several use cases. So there's many things that we intend to touch upon today, which you can. But basically, the goal of this session is to help you understand that testing is not any less superior than development, because development is very glamorous. Everybody wants to be in development, and testing is seen as a myth, as a second-rated citizen, but it's not. So we will talk about all those things, and also we will touch upon the appropriate topics for you to make a career, a very successful career in testing. And in that process, we have two eminent QA experts here, one Mr. Hemchandra and Mr. Prashanth. Both of them you see on your screen, and I will introduce both of them to you in a second. So, Hemchand Srigini Raju, he is AVP of delivery in ZenQ. He has more than 16 years of experience in software development and quality assurance, and he's serving as associate vice president at ZenQ. ZenQ is a pure play software testing services company. So you will not find any better person than him to learn why QA is a great career for you. And he has done MS in business analytics from BITS Pilani, as you know, very reputed organization, reputed educational institution. He is currently overseeing the delivery business unit at ZenQ with more than 500 QA engineers, leads, and architects. So very vast experience. And he also led a medium to large scale QA testing engagements, implementations, headed QA practice, testing centers of excellence, testing into CI/CD, the continuous integration, continuous delivery framework, and also non-functional testing as well. And he has led and contributed for development of several IP products aimed at QA processes, improvement, and improved management. So welcome aboard for this panel. Big round of applause for him.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thanks for spending time with us. Thanks for choosing to spend your time with us today, Hemchand. The next esteemed panelist on the panel today is Prashanth Achanta. He's the CTO of First Source, another very eminent executive level person, a C-level person. So we have a lot to learn from him from the business angle of the QA testing. And Prashanth is responsible for driving all technology initiatives to enable the digital first, digital now agenda. So everybody is now, including the Prime Minister, is talking about digital India, right? So digital transformation. So it's a key focus area. And his focus areas span across platform engineering, technology labs, business IT services, technology partnerships, and system integration services. Prior to that, Prashanth led several prior to L&T, he spent 9 years.
His voice must be.
Oh, okay. Leadership, large engagement, service delivery, and geo leadership in market-facing roles. Prashanth has an engineering degree from Faculty of Engineering, Dayal Bagh Education Institution, from India, and an MBA from IIM. So, a warm welcome to you, Prashanth, for spending time. That's great. So, without much delay, already 10 minutes into the meeting. So we have a tight deadline and we have a lot to cover. So we will very, very quickly move to the presentation section. The first present, I have a few slides. I hope the technology doesn't, affect us negatively in the presentation, but I hope I'll share some slides and let me know if you can't see some things soon. Okay, let me see. Whatever you are seeing is not intended to be shared, but okay. Do you see the black background that says WINTalk series testing? Let me know when you can see it.
Yes, Sesha.
Very nice. Okay. Can you see the agenda?
Yes.
If you could put it in a full screen mode, please. Yes.
Say that again.
It's not in a full screen mode.
Oh, it's not. I'm worried to put it in a full screen mode. I hope.
Shesha, slideshow format that it will be seen completely.
I'll just maximize the screen, sir, I think probably. Maximize the window, I think probably.
Did Shesha drop off?
He is still.
I think his desktop is having some issues, Nirja. Let's give him a minute to come back.
Okay, let's wait for him.
Do you see anything on the screen?
We just see your screen. I mean, we don't see you, Shesha. No, we are not able to hear you also.
Oh, there's some problem with the
Just join. Maybe you can drop the presentation and just join from the phone, Shesha.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll join something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, right. I think Prashanth, Shesha will take a minute to join. In the meantime, instead of making the students wait, probably can I request Hemchand to just give an overview of this whole testing field while we give Shesha time to join back?
Yeah.
That's a
Can
good
you
idea.
can you hear me now?
Oh,
Yeah, we can hear you now, Shesha.
Okay, looks like my screen share seems to be working only if I don't put it in the full screen mode. The moment I put it in the full screen mode, that's severe difficulty.
Oh,
So I will not use full screen mode. I'll go by
Otherwise, Shesha sir, please share that presentation. I'll upload from my end.
Yeah, please, Shesha, do that. Can you just share that presentation and just probably you can start off with the questions, and in the meantime, Rakesh can share that presentation.
That's a good idea. Maybe what I will do is I will ask, okay, we'll switch it quickly, and I will ask probably the points. So while I work on my challenges, I would like to ask the question from Hemchandra regarding what. One second. Yeah, couple of things, Hemchandra. So you can probably tell us why testing is important, and what are the several myths or facts that that are existing today in the minds of career aspiring students, and are really true or not. If you can start answering these two doubts, meanwhile I'll work on my presentation.
sure. Thank you, sir. So yeah, I'll probably give a few famous examples of not doing testing and then rolling out some product into the market and then having the repercussions. I think there are very famous or rather infamous examples that we have. I think the oldest one that everyone remembers are probably many of us would made careers off as the Y2K bug. I think when the systems of bit designed, nobody thought that there's going to be a year 2000 where this is going to happen. So that's the famous history incident tells us that what's the side effect of not doing testing. But there are several others instances, very costly incidences that kind of cause the software to not work in the way that's supposed to work, or serve as a reminder that if you're not doing adequate testing, what happens. Now, one other infamous example that's tied to, unfortunately, Hyderabad is a minor upgrade in apparently the RBS back rotate procedures cost 125 million pound losses to the bank because it have pushed out a lot of monies out. Other example from US, President Obama wanted to launch out as highly ambitious Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act. On the day one when the site was launched, it could not serve all the users it was trying to reach out to. Site crashed. People were not able to buy the insurance, and so the famous policy became failure because the software did not support the policy. Things like that. There are many examples to tell. If someone is not doing adequate testing, the system could have these side effects and stuff like that. So again, moving on from why testing is important. There are only four fundamental. I mean, you can write a book about it, but four fundamental reasons why you should do. Is the software working as it's supposed to work? Is it usable and accessible? Can it be used by everybody that's supposed to be using it? And can it only be used by authorized users and prevent unauthorized users? Basically, it ensures that the testing and quality aspects ensures that the software product, it could be an application, it could be an utility, or whatever it is rolled out to the end user with quality each time and every time. That's pretty much what the intent of testing is. And I'll probably, how it has evolved, I'm sure Shesha and Prashanth are going to add examples from their observance, but a simple way that I could put. When I started my career in the testing, or when I graduated, the topic of software testing in SDLC, you take any famous SDLC book. I'll probably give an example of, I'm sure you all refer to the McGraw-Hill software engineering book. The topic of testing is only about 3 pages in the entire book. Today, it has its own book of its size. And then there are autonomous institutions that are rolling out software testing as a career. So you could see testing probably about 20 years ago was in a different shape, and it is in a different shape. It is no longer like I think Shashaka rightly put it, is no longer a second-grade citizen, a side child, or whatever it is. It has its prominence. And then companies like ZenQ is one such example, and there are hundreds of examples. More so popularly in Hyderabad, there are tens of examples. There are companies and careers that are based purely on testing. What I proudly myself call as a career tester. My career is about testing. So you could imagine that thousands and thousands of people are making testing as a career and not like an option. So that's where kind of it moved on from where it was 20 years ago to where it is. Right. So yeah, there are a few myths. Again, most people think why it's not a skilled job, something that is not challenging enough. Many will think that the salaries are relatively lower compared to development. And many of you think, it doesn't have a career growth. At some point, the role becomes easily disposable, or we are easily replaceable. Reality is, it's all again myths. Like I mentioned, maybe 20 years ago, I would have said yes, because there was hardly any in the companies. If you look at early 2000s, the typical roles in software organizations never used to have a role called QA engineer or software test engineer. It always used to be software engineer, which primarily used to be a developer, of course. Even if those resources who were doing testing, they were probably called as a software engineer. But today we have specialized roles, specialized designations. So that's where it is not like doesn't have a career growth. It does have its own career path. It is all about how you want to. That's typically for most of you at manual testing. Maybe I can quickly try sharing my screen. Rakesh, could you enable me control to see if I can share? I have some slides I wanted to. I'll give it a try. If not, I'll roll back to the verbal mode.
Just a minute. I'll make you as a presenter.
Okay, great.
Yes, you can. Now you can present your screen.
Okay. 1 minute. Let me know if you're able to see my screen. Okay. Great. So yeah, these are the myths that I was referring to. I hope it is in a full screen, sir. Shishakar?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. So these were the typical myths, typical myths that we kind of always encounter, and people ask the question. The reality is, it is not. It is not the case, not the situation at this point anymore. There are companies that are purely, pure play testing services companies. There are employees that have made testing as a career. And there are career paths available. And I try to give you an overview of what are the career options available in a software testing. So you can start at QA testing engineer. There are broadly 3 streams. Again, this is just not limited by what I'm presenting. In more sophisticated, more efficient engineering companies, the roles are much more specialized. But I'm giving a general snapshot of what the industry is. So there's manual testing role, which is also more frequently called as functional testing. There's a test automation, which is all about programming. So some people think testing means no programming. No, reality is one half of, or more than one half of software testers do write programs. It's just that their programs are meant to test another program. So the test automation is all about programming. Non-functional testing is one level above the automation. You have performance testing, security testing, accessibility, usability, and stuff like that. That's from a technology stack perspective. If you look from a people management perspective, testers could become leads, testers could become managers. If you wanted to take a path into becoming like an SME, you have QA architects and test architects, and you have domain testing SMEs. Companies do ask for, okay, if there's let's say a large banking system, I'll give an example of T24. People do ask, do you have test specialists that are focused in these areas? It could be something like a EHR. So there are SMEs, both from a technology standpoint, which is QA test architect, and also domain standpoint, which is the industry specialist SME. So you could see it is no longer like what we think. Always testing doesn't mean just a manual testing. It has array of career options that you could imagine. Now, from those career options, I just wanted to give you examples of the kind of a technology stack that you could work with, the kind of exposure that you get work with. when I mentioned about test automation, I said you're going to write programs. It is you could choose a Java stack, or you could choose a C# stack, or a Python stack, and then write programs to test the software. And in the non-functional testing, again, it has its own specialization. Like, someone could become like a performance tester, someone could become like a performance engineering role, doing the capability planning and stuff like that. Security testing, I think this is probably among all the testing specializations or career options, one of the most coveted. Cybersecurity experts. The demand for professionals with this kind of a skills is very, very, very high, and so is the demand, so is the pay. And then, like I mentioned, the vertical specialization are architects. The other myth that I was referring about is the pay parity. So again, simply put, many of your friends, parents would say, "Oh, testing means no pay." Now, the data that I'm pulling up, courtesy is Naukri, I'm pulling it from Naukri pay comparison. What I wanted to draw your attention here is, this is the average testing at different experience levels, 3 to 9, and this is for software developer. I've just chosen one role. You see the difference between like a 3-year, less than 3-year, it's pretty much identical, 3.5 lakhs per annum to 3.6. So it's net almost comparable, 5.8 to 6.1 at 3 to 6 year experience, 9.6 to 10.3 lakhs at 6 to 9, 13.4 to 14. So the difference is hardly about 10 to 15,000 per annum. So it is actually not difference. Now this I'm talking about a no specialization testing. When someone gets a specialization testing, you could imagine that the curve is going to be a bit steeper, meaning they're going to get better pace as the experience increases. Now, you can also think from a demand standpoint. If you look at 100 people being trained, graduated, you will always find 70% of developers available. But there are only 30 people or 20 people testers. And within the 20 people, there are only about 5 or 6 specialists like performance testing specialists, and then cybersecurity specialists. So you could imagine the lesser the availability is, the lesser the supply is, the more the demand is. Obviously, the price of the asset goes up. That's the way that in the software industry, the pay goes up. So that's how testing is no longer inferior in terms of work, or also in the pay. The data proves that, and you could acquire specialization to kind of to make yourself to make your career more lucrative. That's what I could comment. Maybe some certifications. Again, there are testing focused certifications available because testing has now become a career path for many. Like I mentioned, 500 people in the organization. For them, they're proud to call themselves a career tester. I'm sure there are other organizations. In addition to pure testing service companies, like I mentioned, there are tens of them. There are larger MNCs both in Hyderabad and across the India, where the software testing divisions within those larger organizations would run into thousands and thousands of people. They just provide under the umbrella of bigger companies. So you have IS2QB certifications, QA certifications, or tool-specific certifications. And if you wanted to learn testing, plethora of avenues available. MOOCs, Udemy, Coursera, kind of a thing. A lot of courses are available. There are YouTube is a good source where a lot of courses are available. So we would recommend going through that. Yeah, that's where I'll pause and then pass the baton back to you.
Thank you so much, Hemchandra. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Oh, I don't see Prashanth. Prashanth, are you there?
Is there?
Okay. No, I don't see Prashanth. Prashanth, can you hear me?
Hey, Prashanth.
Yeah, I just went off video because I just want to plug the bandwidth.
That's a great presentation. Thanks a lot, Hemchandra. I think you have covered many parts of the nuts and bolts things that our students have in their minds in terms of pay parity, in terms of trainings, resources, learning, and so on. So let's change the gears here a little bit, and then let's move into further down in the technology curve. going into the future. Hemchandra, I think, has summarized everything that's going on today and in the present and also in the very near future. But let's see a little more further down, a little more far, not very far, but a little farther future, where you would have, all of you would have heard this AI, right? What is AI? Artificial intelligence. What is the robo kind of thing, or what is it? What are those applications? So Prashanth is an expert in this area. So I would request him to share his thoughts and experiences on what does this AI testing, AI application testing mean? And also, how do you leverage AI in testing? And what are the new age technologies, how they are transforming QA methodologies into the new world, right? And one thing is, Hemchandra said that, write programs to test programs, right? In the same way, do you use AI to test AI? Oh, that's not the presentation. Please take it off. This is not the presentation. Please stop that presentation. Rakesh. So Prashanth is going to talk about AI and its roles and how AI is going to transform the QA testing and the methodologies. So I request Prashanth to share his experiences on here that will benefit our students. Over to you, Prashanth.
Sure, thank you. It's truly a pleasure to speak to such a large audience, and I really hope at the end of the session we will encourage all of you to join our industry, because at this point in time you still have choices, right? You can join technology, you can join automotive, life sciences. There are a plethora of opportunities, right, for technical staff. But I really hope you get to join our technology industry. We really have like a huge shortage of skilled professionals, right? And we really hope testing is a choice that you make. All right. Thanks for the introduction, Sesha, and I'd like to build on how Hemchand articulated, right? But before we get into AI, I just want to classify, right? If you look at the systems landscape broadly, right, you have systems that do, systems that think, and systems that learn, right? What are systems that do, right? So there are like specific instructions that are provided, right? You go buy a railway ticket. Very clearly, there is pricing, there is inputs. You buy a ticket and you get a confirmation back that you received the ticket in this class, seat preferences, etc. Right? Very clear. It's all rules based, right? Those are systems that do. Then there are systems that think, right? Like you have identity validation solutions, right? So you put your picture on, and then when you enter, using specific metrics on the picture and the parameters, you authenticate a person, right? So that is where the system is actually evaluating not based on structured rules, but like on maybe 10,000 parameters with like multi-layer neural networks, correct? So that is a system that that is actually thinking. And the highly evolved systems are systems that essentially learn, right? Where you are doing medical diagnosis, where based on your posture and your gait, you're able to detect whether someone has a certain ailment, right? So there it is not just thinking, but observing past behavior, dynamically learning, so that you're able to make those judgment calls, right? So that is the world of AI. I mean, when we look at AI, I'd like to say systems that think and systems that learn are AI applications, right? And the two questions Sesha sir called out were, how do you test AI applications? And how do you deploy AI in testing, right? So all the good activities, skills that Hemchand spoke about, how do you actually inject AI and what is the benefit, right? So those are the two topics. Now, the other angle I'd like to draw here is, AI is here and now, all right? So AI is also the future, but AI is here and now, right? Like, for example, as simple as if you see how Google has evolved, right? Google search. from 20 years ago, from their page ranking algorithms, right, search algorithms, to today, like 70% of Google search, run on deep learning, algorithms, right? Their patented, page rank, right, is something that they are leaving behind. And that is how much a leading company like Google is actually adopting AI. So AI is mainstream, all right. The second part is AI is democratized, right? What do I mean by AI is democratized? Like 20 years ago, if you had to work on AI, you needed to have statistics, deep math experience, good engineering skills. Okay, but today, with a lot of product firms, right, what has happened is, AI has been packaged as models for you to deploy. Correct. So if you want to run simple linear regression, right, logistical regression, you want to run classification algorithms, all of those are democratized as models where we can input the input parameters, get output parameters, and then we can treat AI applications as a black box. Correct. So what that means is that it affords all of us the opportunity to participate and help build, test, validate AI applications, right? So those two items I thought would be a precursor before I get into the specifics of what I mean by testing of AI applications, right? And following on, there are three additional categories of AI applications, right? There is visual AI. We spoke about face comparison. Today, handwriting recognition is also mainstream. Like, a lot of banks, based on your signatures, they pass them through handwritten recognition engines to validate, identify characters, and also validate if the signature is accurate. Medical diagnosis, specific conditions, right? Diabetic retinopathy. These are conditions that would be difficult for even eye specialists to diagnose right away. So visual AI is playing a significant role in early detection, right? So they are augmenting the capabilities of specialists. Driverless cars, with our Telangana traffic, I think that is a few years away. But in certain geographies, in certain neighborhoods, right, it is starting, right? You and I, we can go to specific geographies, and we could experience this. Maybe in about 5 years, it will become like more and more early adoption. And, depending on how we build out our traffic infrastructure, it could definitely come to our country. Retail checkout is another example where today, in specific geographies, you fill your cart with items, and then, you check out, and, visual area identifies, what you're checking out, what is the weight, gives you a bill, you pay and you exit, right? So what companies and retailers are doing is they're eliminating the touch points so that, it is all self-service, so you get faster service, right? I mean, the list is endless. I just wanted to give like 5 or 6 examples so that, you have a view on this, right? Speech AI, Alexa, Siri, and, all of these smart home applications, right? At least, I play the top 10 Telugu songs, every week on Alexa, and it works. Voice biometrics, very quickly, when you call about your credit card, or when you call about, making an airline reservation, you get like about 5 questions, right? Name, date of birth, right? All of that is now passé. What will happen is, your voice will get recorded, and, that will serve as your identity. We spoke about driverless cars, where, you're using image visual AI to figure out, whether the road is clear, whether there is a pedestrian, whether there is a traffic light, it is, if it is red, orange, green, right? But a lot of instructions are also now being given to driverless cars, right? Stop, slow down, and, various other aspects. So speech AI is also getting mainstream. And finally, text AI was always there, right? With chatbots, text summarizations. So, please make sure that you don't use text summarization tools to submit your exam papers, right? The technology is still not maturing, but, that is an area which is like, picking up pretty quickly, right? So in the future, if you look at systems that do think, learn, there is significant investment that is picking up in the think and learn, right? Because the think and learn applications are delivering a much higher level of efficiency. Today, the systems that do are still like, pretty prominent, but the think and learn investments are like picking up at a massive scale, right? Almost like 8 to 10x of that traditional tech. Okay. Now, all this is good, right? What does this mean to you? Okay. So all of these applications are being developed, right? There are like specific strategies that we have for systems that do, correct? You take the requirements, you write, figure out what is your test strategy, you lay out the test scenarios, you look at test conditions, you draft test cases, and then you execute those test cases, whether they are automated or manual. All right. So there's a specific strategy that is involved. Now, when we look at AI applications, we will look to deploy a similar strategy, right? So we will define a test strategy as to, how to define, right, and how to test to make sure, you validate and what you put out there works. You don't want to do a face comparison or face visual authentication based application, right, in your college or, in an industry without testing. So you have to test like samples. You have to make sure it works, and then you industrialize it and you put it out there, right? We don't want to be embarrassed like President Obama, like Hemchand called out, right? We want it to be successful. Likewise, when you do these testing, you identify defects, and then you log those defects, and then you identify based on the defects which are coming in how robust the application is. Is it ready? You actually do some risk-based testing, right? So all of those are like the regular skills that are needed, right? But in my opinion, the bottom four are key aspects as to where you guys on the call have a distinct advantage than folks who are like more experienced, right? Why? So you are Gen Z, all right? So it comes with a lot of differences in attitude, right? Perspectives, but there are advantages, right? Also, when you look at the industry. So you have a born digital mindset. You traditionally have not perhaps used as much of traditional technology, bad systems, right, as some of your more experienced peers in the industry will have, right? Which means you have less tolerance for poor systems. That will translate into rigor, when you validate, when you test out applications, right? So that is like a significant difference. Trust me, from a QA standpoint, I think, what makes someone really successful versus someone not so successful. I mean, there are a lot of reasons, but the X factor is always the focus and attitude, right? So from that standpoint, the born digital mindset that you have, right, the Gen Z mindset that you have is like a straight up advantage, right? The second aspect is industry understanding, right? So, and a lot of these AI applications are in like advanced, newer tech industries where we believe the Gen Z have like a better a chance of understanding, right, applying faster, right, because of the nature of the generation, that is. Then there are two other aspects, right, which is AI accuracy, because what I'm recommending is, if you are able to figure out and have a deep math background, deep tech background, you can white box test it, right? But at the very least, when you black box test it, you have to look at AI accuracy. And when you look at accuracy, there are like multiple aspects to the accuracy, right? It is not just a simple pass and fail. There is this aspect about, ensuring that, you correctly predict, but, you do not incorrectly predict, right? So the false positives, false negatives. So this will require like a different mindset as opposed to a traditional pass fail that you have with systems that do, right? And like I said, AI and technology skills are a nice to have. Don't look at AI application testing as a very specific focus area. You have to understand that what you will come across when you validate systems are like a combination of do, think, and learn, right? You will not just be a systems that learn tester. So, you will build some technology skills, they are nice to have, but, you have to be outcome focused and, have like strong black box testing, skills. So I'll pause here. That is, in summary as to how you can test AI applications and, where you have a role, right? Now the other aspect is there is also traditional testing, right? And when I say traditional, don't view it with a with the lens that it is legacy, right? I mean, traditional testing is also evolving significantly, and there are like multiple disciplines in testing, correct? But specifically, I wanted to talk about how AI is changing testing. All right. Now, why is AI being deployed in testing? Is because the belief is certain aspects of testing will be faster with AI, correct? And I have examples of which of those specific areas of testing are faster and are more accurate than someone manually doing it, right? And here you have specific applicability of AI, right? Which is you'll have visual AI, you'll have text AI in the same set of applications, that I referred to earlier, right? Now, what are the application areas, right? One is you have visual validation, okay? Now, when you launch large applications, you have to expect that people will use, right? Your end users will use it using different browsers, right? And then they will test it on different devices. Not everyone has the same device, right? Be it your laptop, desktop, right? Your notebooks or your phones, and the phones are like 5,000 in itself by themselves, right? So how do you make sure that the technology that you're delivering, the applications that you're putting out there, the web portals that you're launching, how is the experience across, right? Is everything getting loaded? Are all the controls appearing? So cross-browser testing, cross-device validations, all of these are items where visual AI is playing a big role. In specific geographies and even in India, right, there is specific focus on compliance, right, to make sure everyone has equal opportunity to access websites, right? So your websites, has to be compliant to ensure like everyone, right, including people with specific disabilities are able to access, okay? Then there is this angle about branding, correct? So, the first source logo that you see, right? So there is a logo, there is an image there. And when I ask someone else, right, to build it out for me, correct? And I have to ensure that my customers see my logo correctly, right? There cannot be differences in fonts, right? I need the stay ahead to be there. So those are aspects which are very critical, and humans might miss them, right? And this is where AI is playing a role. There are like specific companies which offer these visual validation tool sets, right? And as you progress in your career, as you enter testing jobs, you should keep an eye out on some of these things, right? There is also the newer form of testing which is kicking in, which is declarative testing, correct? Which is you can type out the tests and then the tests get executed, correct? As opposed to traditionally pointing and clicking. Then there is also differential testing, where ultimately this is the role of the tester and the developer intersecting, where the tester isn't necessarily waiting for the dev team to build unit test and deploy, and then they start testing, right? Testing starts at the beginning of the life cycle, correct? Where the QA team looks at the requirements, whether the requirements are accurate, looking at requirements defects and logging them to make sure requirements are done accurately, right? That is where we have a lot of domain experts participating as QA professionals. Then when we actually start to get to test, right? One is a brand new application, the other part is incremental releases. So now testing is evolving to a point where you're looking at code versions, right? Looking at where the deltas are and, essentially figuring out these are the areas to test, right? So because we have limited budgets and the expectation from the industry in general is to do more with less. So this is where optimization kicks in, and the QA teams have to become smarter. So I mean, the other learning that I wanted to give out through this slide is don't view testing as manual testing, right? Like Hemchand called out, there are multiple disciplines. And then, there is also, a lot of AI in testing, and that will become more and more mainstream. So as you enter and build the career, there is significant specialization, and that is driving a lot of the differential pay that you also see, right? So as you build some of these skills, you become better, and there are very few people, who have some of these skills, that will help you drive a niche. So, Sesha, I hope broadly I've answered your questions, right? So I'll pause here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Great insights, Prashanth. Really appreciate your thought, um, uh, comments in what the Gen Z has to get prepared for the challenges ahead in the very near future, especially when they are testing driverless cars or the traffic management or some of these retail related programs that are heavily AI leveraged, and the amount of tolerance or the lack of tolerance that the Gen Z is going to have means that the testing has to be notched one level up. So thanks a lot for sharing that. So I would like to change gears again one more time. Now talk about slightly different topic, which I think is more important. We started off with this because of the technology challenges we could not. Is what is the basic fundamental mindset that that somebody should have to become a good tester? So testing is slightly different from development in terms of some of the software aspects. So now that we have covered what are the career options in testing, Hemchan has educated us on, and then Prashanth has educated on what you can expect in the future. I would like to throw a little bit of comments on what are the attributes that will make you a good tester. If you want to choose testing as a career, then these are the things that you probably should be looking at. And Rakesh or Nirja, could you share the screen, please, my presentation? So while they are trying to bring up the presentation, I would like to talk about 4 topics very quickly. One is what are the roles and responsibilities that are expected by the industry need in a testing career. And I would like to talk the difference between the good tester and a great tester. And some of the third point I would like to cover is how the testing methodologies have evolved already. This is not about the future, it is about the present. It used to be a waterfall model, now it is agile model. I'll touch upon that a little bit. And then what is the career progression? How do you expect to move? Which is similar to what has indicated us on the career path. So while the presentation is still coming up.
Yes, Rakesh is bringing it up, Shisha.
Okay. So while he's bringing it up, Nirja, please ask him to go one bullet by one bullet, because I will mention that, so that we
Which
can
slide
go over.
Shisha, which slide number?
You can go to immediately slide number 9.
9.
So basically, the roles and responsibilities. What you need to do first is understand the big picture and understand the use cases. So when you are testing a product, now when you're testing a product, you should first understand the purpose of that product, right? Why this product is designed, who is the customer, and how they are going to use this product. So that's understanding the big picture. If it is a login screen testing, for example, sign up, sign in. If it is a complex product, then you can see through and test it whether it's basically functionally working on. But if it is something that is related to a healthcare product which is targeted at very senior citizens, then even login screen and sign up screen are very complex for them to really to even sign up. They may have difficulty. Sign in itself may be difficult. They may not know what the password is, why you are saying minimum 8 letters and special cases and special characters. It all depends on the product and the targeted customer. Then only you will be able to understand the big picture. So the most important thing is understand the big picture, what this product is all about, why this product is designed this way, and who is your customer. That's the first thing that you need. And then you need to, as Hemchand has described, the framework and implement. You have to choose what environment and cases, document the usual QA life process, and reproduce the bugs. And then you need to have customer empathy, meaning you think product testing from the eye of the customer, not from your viewpoint. You have to come from the customer viewpoint. For example, the customer will say that, hey, this particular is not working, right? A large number of times I have seen a tester or a developer saying that, no, it's for me. Right? Wrong answer. When the customer says something is not working, you never say that it's working for me. It's not working for the customer. That's it. It may be a bug, it may not be a bug. It may be the viewpoint of the customer. This is what I expect. When he says it's working, this is not about. So you need the customer empathy and say that, oh, it's not working for you. Okay, let me try to help you out and let me repair that bug, and then I will work on getting it fixed to the developer. So that's the mindset that you need to have. And then functionality, scalability. This also I think Hemchand talked about. And testing and the reliability. So the functionality is one aspect. They have to work functionally, but also have to scale. If it works when the load is 10 customers, 10 users, and if it doesn't work when it is 100,000, then it's no good. You need to go back to your testing tape and rework on it. So all responsibilities that you have to be a good tester. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, let's go for test versus data. Next. So I wanted this to be, animated, but unfortunately, technology is not permitting. Let's look at four. A good tester. You are a good tester when you have technical skills, analytical skills, and skills. These are the most important things, or the most basic things that you need. You have to be technically good. You have to have that analytical mindset and logical thinking and communication skills. You should be able to communicate, work in a team well. You should be able to say that, hey, this is not working and this is why. Rather than saying that, hey, this is a bug and this bug is affecting the customers. So you should be able to communicate why someone should fix that bug immediately. You should be able to prioritize. You should be able to communicate positively. It's called a respectful confrontation. If something doesn't work, then you should not pass it. It's called a go no go decision. Now, these are all the good attributes of a good tester. But a great tester, the great tester's mindset is different. That mindset is very critical thinking. And like I said, the big picture thinking, the customer empathy, and the passion with which you will go about your testing. That mindset, a positive mindset, is what differentiates a good tester and a great tester. Good testers, find a lot of pride in finding a lot of bugs, right? Great testers get a lot of pride in finding the bugs that the customer should not find, right? If the customer finds a bug, it means that the tester has failed, right? So a mindset should be the customer viewpoint and the empathy, and sometimes it may be a very simple issue for the developer or a tester, but it can be a big thing for the customer. And also the mindset should be, I was doing some testing in my previous career, not as a professional tester, but general tester. I feel very bad if somebody finds a bug in my program, my code. I feel, oh shit, I should have found that. Why did I depend on someone else to tell that I have a problem? I should find my own problems, right? That mindset should carry on from developer to tester as well. If the tester is able to find all the bugs the customer is about to find, then you are a great tester. So the mindset is very important, and I will feel bad if the customer finds a problem with the product that I have released. Next slide, please. So the mindset is very important, and you should have the passion, and you should really be proud of the work that you're doing. Let's go to the next slide, where we are talking about waterfall model versus agile. One more click you may need, Rakesh. So in general, a waterfall model would require a PRD, requirements definition. And oops, we are in the wrong slide. Rakesh, go to slide number 13. 1-3. So in the waterfall model, you have the PRD, then followed by an architecture, specifications, then the design, then the development, then the testing, and then product acceptance criteria testing and go no go decision. So they're all serial fashion. They all happen one after the other, and then finally it gets released. But in the newer model, in the agile model, all these things happen in parallel, and so the testing or the testers also will be receiving code in or the deliverables in smaller increments, and release by release, feature by feature, and sometimes it may go across multiple sprint cycles, and you need to have the ability to work in an ambiguous environment where you did not receive everything at once. So you should have the skill set to be able to test some parts of it and another part of it on a weekly basis, and be able to release every test that you did. It should go into the customer's deployment, and ultimately you should be able to do the integration till finally release it. So the agile testing model, the agile testing methodology is quite different from the waterfall model. So you need to be able to adapt yourself for that newer model. So looks like the slides are not going to come in. So let's finally go to the last slide. I have slide number 16. So it's like a pyramid, right? The bottom of the pyramid is you always start off with, yes, this is a slide. At the bottom of the pyramid is you always start off as, a manual tester. Your goal is to become a specialist in whatever field that you chose in testing, whatever career path that you chose. So you start off with the manual testing, and then like Hemchand and also Prashanth has mentioned, you choose your domain, application, security, or black box, white box testing. You choose all that. But then you start off with the probably white box testing to start with. Manual testing, then white box, black box testing. That's how you start off your career. And then keep getting experience and start learning some other tools. It could be Jira, or it could be other tracking tools, whatever you are comfortable with. Use Confluence, use all these document tracking tools, bug tracking tools, and so on. So once you get to the next level, whether it's application or security domain or product testing, then you can start going into automation. The automation is like both the speakers have mentioned. Automation is also coding, right? That is also programming. That is also development. And so you learn those languages, those scripts, and then become an automation tester and become more efficient in those tools. Now, these scripting languages. And then you can start thinking of getting into white box testing, where you test in modules. I can test the backend, services, microservices, APIs, and then front-end testing and so on. And you can write scripts or you can write programs to test itself. Then you probably can get to a career where you can decide whether you want to go to a management layer or in a technical management ladder or a technical ladder. You can, subsequent to that, you could probably become a product manager or a project manager or a business analyst or a manager and so on. Further, you could probably become completely a program manager or an SDET. SDET in Microsoft is paid equal or the same or more than a developer. In fact, there is not much distinction in Microsoft at certain level, and not only Microsoft, many progressive technology companies. There's no difference between a QA tester and a developer. Both are same. And then that's how you probably choose your career path to the specialist. In the earlier bottom 3 parts of the pyramid, you are an individual contributor, and at the top, you are evaluated by most of the time by the teamwork the team skills that you demonstrate. So that would, and all of this is supported by the customer focus at the bottom. The customer focus, whatever career you chose, whatever position that you are in, the customer focus is the most important aspect in your mindset that really differentiates you from the rest. Okay, that's what is expected as a tester. Now let me switch my hat. Now I'm the moderator. So we are out of time, and we are already 5 minutes over. Really apologies for keeping you longer than what you were promised. But I would like to quickly take 1 or 2 questions from the audience, and then we'll wrap it up quickly. Rakesh, Nirja, questions from the audience? Anyone?
Yes, sir. We will post in public chat. You can address those queries.
Oh. Okay. Vinith Rishita, what's the difference between quality control and quality assurance? Excellent question. One of you, would you like to take the Hemchen? Would you like to take the difference between quality control and quality assurance?
Okay. So again, there are 2 broad distinctions. Quality control is a term more famously used outside the software context. In the software context, it is more colloquially called as quality assurance. Testing is a subset of quality assurance. QA is the main layer, and testing is a part of it. Broadly, they have whether quality control employed in the manufacturing or industries or quality assurance employed in software, they're pretty much same. It's just that you have not just an activity to validate the correctness of output, but you have every process that you do, starting with the leftmost process to rightmost, do with a kind of a methodology that promotes quality. So putting all the right processes is what the quality control or quality assurance is. Testing is one way to ensure the quality is in place.
If I can maybe add, like, just to elaborate, and great answer, Hemchan. So I think controls are one aspect where you have specific controls, availability, performing as designed, right, response time. But assurance is actually the insurance part of it to ensure that user experience, the customer journey, all of those aspects holistically are like validated, right? So I think we should, from a technology industry standpoint, just focus on assurance broadly, right? Don't worry about definitions between controls and assurance. Would be my response.
Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. Both of you are absolutely right. Quality control, quality assurance, see, the quality is across industries, right? In the IT, whatever we spoke about, primarily we are talking about IT industry. But if you're talking about a manufacturing industry, for example, where you are manufacturing, thousands and thousands of devices or physical devices, that's where I think quality control term is more utilized in terms of whether all the manufactured devices are all following within the range of acceptable quality. So I think they're interchangeable in the IT industry. You don't have to really worry so much about the semantics, but it's all about whether the customer is happy with your product or not. That's it. Whether you call it quality control, quality assurance, doesn't really matter. But there are many other questions. What are the testing tools, exploratory testing? What's the difference between the domains? Any difference between the domains of artificial intelligence? What are the platforms of practice? There are many other questions that are here. We apologize for not being able to answer all of them for lack of time. However, please reach out to either Nirja or Rakesh, and also in the link that you received, there will be a way for you to reach either Task or Hysia, and you can reach any one of them. You can reach Pradeep at Task, or you can reach Nirja and Rakesh at Hysia, and post these questions to them. They will reach out to us. Nirja knows how to reach any of 3 of us. And we really would like to spend some more time with you, but unfortunately the webinar is scheduled only for 60 minutes, and so we apologize for the delay. But feel free to reach out to any one of those contacts, and we would like to really answer the questions either by phone or by email. We are always at your, we are willing to help you out in clearing these questions. But before we leave, oh yeah, Nirja has posted in the public chat the email ID to reach. So reach out onto that email ID, post your questions. We will certainly get back to you with the answers. Now, before we close the session, we are already 10 minutes out. I would like to ask one takeaway from each one of the speakers. What is that one takeaway that you have for our students? You are muted. You are muted, Hemchand.
Yeah, I'll quickly summarize. So, like what Prashanth and
one takeaway in very short sentence.
Okay, so testing is definitely a strong career option that you could choose. It is like no lesser or greater than any other role that you do. In general, the roles have changed in the last several years. It's definitely an option. And then there's, if you acquire the right skills, the right specialization, you don't have to worry about your job security or pay. It'll keep you busy, pay you enough, and then make your career lucrative. So it is definitely a career that you could choose with confidence. Yeah.
And ZenQ has lots of positions.
Lots of, absolutely, yes. Right. Yeah.
Prashanth, one takeaway.
So again, focus on analytical skills and communication skills, right? And look to go deep wherever you choose to specialize in. That will just get you down the right path. You'll find the right mentors, you'll find the right friends, to take you forward. The industry as a whole, is fairly helpful, right? You'll find the right ecosystem. So good luck.
Thank you. Okay, my new hat. The takeaway for all of you guys is testing is a mindset. If you have the right mindset, go for that without any hesitation. And testing is a great career option, and testing is very well paying, and there's a lot of satisfaction for you because the product is of high quality that you deliver. And the most important thing is customer empathy. And testing career is no less than the development career. So that would be my takeaway. So thank you everyone for your takeaways. Now my moderator hat. Thank you for spending your time, Hemchand and Prashanth. Really appreciate your insights. I think our audience, the Gen Z students have got benefited with your insights. Thanks a lot for your spending time, and really appreciate all of you. And thank you, Nirja. Thank you, Rakesh. Thank you, Pradeep, for making this session great success. And I think you have been recording this session, so we'll put it up on our website, ICA website, as well as Task website, for the students to really refer to this in the future. And any questions that you have, feel free to reach out to us on the info@ica.in, so that we will be very glad to answer your questions. Thanks, everyone. This is a great session. Thank you very much. And ICA, thank you. And